Good morning once again. You're most welcome to the Penomics Academy, where we make economics simple, practical, and impactful. My name is Eustace Chigode Oswago, and today, in our previous video, we discussed the meaning of demand and the differences between an effective and ineffective demand. And in this video, we'll be discussing the 4 types of demand, right? The 4 types of demand are derived demand, complementary demand, substitute demand, and composite demand. These are 4 types of demand, right? Now, what do we mean by derived demand? Derived demand is a demand for a good because it is used to produce another goods. And in some other definition, it is said that the derived demand is when a commodity is wanted not for its own satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of other commodities. Now, let's take, for instance, we have the demand for cement because of the satisfaction for the demand for a house. Labor is also a derived demand. The demand for steel is also a derived demand because it is wanted not for its own satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of constructing bridges, roads, houses, and so on and so forth. So any commodity that is not wanted for its own satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of other commodities are called derived demand. The second type of demand we have is what we call the complementary demand. Now, what are complementary demand? These are demands that when 2 goods demanded together are joined to satisfy human want. When 2 or more goods are joined together to satisfy one particular want. Now, let's take, for instance, I have car and petrol. The demand for car necessitates the demand for petrol because there's no way you can buy a car without the petrol, right? Another example is phone and data. Phone and data, when you get a phone, it necessitates the demand for data. There are so many examples of complementary demand. Another example, we can say shirt and trouser, right? Pillow, mattress, and a bed. These are what we call complementary demand, when 2 or more commodities are joined together just to satisfy one want. For example, the example I just gave for bed, mattress, and pillow to satisfy the want of comfortability, right? So these are called complementary demand. Another type of demand we have is substitute demand. We can say substitute demand, or we can say competitive demand, right? This occurs when one good can replace another in consumption. Now, instead of focusing on one particular product, there is always another product that can be used in place of that product. Now, this is another type of demand, substitute or competitive. Example, tea and coffee. If I don't take tea, I can substitute tea for coffee. If I don't take butter, I can take margarine, right? So there are so many substitute demand. When we go to detergent, if I don't use Clean, I'll use Viva, right? If I don't use Lux soap, I'll use Eva soap. So these are what we call substitute demand. You can always change them. So for substitute demand, when the price of a particular goods increases, people move to the substitute, which will always be used in place of the previous commodity. So that is for substitute demand. Now, lastly, another type of demand we have is what we call the composite demand. Yeah, composite demand. Composite demand is when goods and services are demanded for multiple uses. Like a particular commodity serves so many purposes. And there are so many examples of this composite demand, which we as individuals or consumers have always practiced. An example of a composite demand, like what we have here, electricity. which can be used for lighting, for cooking, charging of devices, ironing, and so on and so forth, right? Electricity can be used for so many things. Another example is palm oil. Palm oil can be used for cooking, for making of pomade, making of soap, and so on and so forth. What other example will I give? Another example of composite demand is water. Water can be used for cooking, for washing, for bathing, and for drinking, so many things. So when a particular commodity is wanted to satisfy multiple wants, or they are wanted for many uses, it is called a composite demand, right? So these are the 4 types of demands that we have. Remember, a derived demand, a complementary demand, a substitute demand, and a composite demand. Thank you so much for watching the video. Always follow us on Deeponomics Academy. This brings us to the end of our lesson. So go over the points on demand and subtopic types of demand, and you will do great. So I'm giving you an assignment to study these 4 types of demand and give examples, create examples of these 4 types of demand in your own way. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time at Deeponomics Academy.